Here's why it's taking you forever to seam rip your projects. The pointy end of the seam ripper is super useful for starting to open up a seam like I'm doing here, but once you finish opening up your back stitches, it's actually super slow and time consuming to keep using the pointy end of the seam ripper to pick apart your seams. There is an easier and faster way to rip your seams open. Instead of picking apart each individual stitch with the pointy end of the seam ripper, flip the seam ripper over with the ball point facing away from your seam allowance and gently but firmly rip through several inches of the seam at a time with the rounded blade part of the seam ripper. As you can see here, I'm able to rip through the seam much more quickly without accidentally poking a hole through the good side of my fabric because I'm protecting the fabric with the ball point side of the seam ripper. Now all I have to do is clean up the broken threads from the fabric and then I'll be ready to sew again. Learn tips and tricks like this in our beginner classes or drop in for an upcycling and alterations class to learn more sewing basics at Mood Fashion Studio.